Good morning and welcome to Sports Shorts Daily on a rainy Friday morning in Baton Rouge. Most of Baton Rouge is out in Las Vegas getting ready for the Tigers and the Trojans. I'm Tommy Christ, glad to be here. Glad to have you there. Joined today by Jeff Palermo, pinch hitting for Ronnie Rance, who is out in Las Vegas. In fact, Sports Shorts Radio tomorrow will emanate from the Mandalay Bay, where the team is staying tomorrow night. Sports Shorts Radio, 10 to 12 tomorrow morning from Las Vegas live. So we'll have Ronnie doing that. This morning, I'm over here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, as I am on Fridays. I got everything you need for the weekend. A lot of rain coming. Get some stuff, load up, sit in the house. I got all the meat, the seafood, the wine, the bourbon, the vodka, the tequila. It's all at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. As always, we are presented by the LeBears Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge, the soon-to-be ESPN Bet Sportsbook. They're renaming it, rebranding it, remodeling it. Great place to watch college football all weekend long. Last night it was crowded. Tonight, tomorrow, college football galore. There's nothing you can't bet on, basically. And don't forget the Edge Lounge over there, back left corner of the casino floor. Great band playing at the Edge Lounge tonight. Downbeat Louisiana. If you hadn't heard them, go check them out at the Edge Lounge tonight. Without further ado, we bring along Jeff Palermo. Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Oh, doing well. How about you, Tommy?
I'm going to try to stay dry today. Everybody's been waiting for this weekend with the college football everywhere you turn, everywhere you look. But now it looks like a lot of rain this weekend, but the TV is going to work just fine in my living room.
It is. Probably a good thing LSU doesn't have a game this Saturday. It'd be pretty soggy out there, kind of dampen some of the tailgating. So probably good that they're playing the game out in the desert on Sunday night.
Hey, Jeff, before we get rolling on LSU and Southern Cal, tell everybody about your radio show and everything else you got going on, how they can keep up with you.
Well, we do a radio show on Talk 107.3 called Tiger Rag Radio every Tuesday night from 6 to 8 o'clock. Myself, Todd Horn, who's the executive editor of Tiger Rag Magazine, and our new editor, a familiar name when it comes to covering LSU, Glenn Gilbo, is now the new editor at Tiger Rag. So he made his first appearance as Tiger Rag editor on the show this past Tuesday. And obviously, coming up this Tuesday on the show from 6 to 8, we'll recap what happened against USC, look around what else happened in the Southeastern Conference. Big game for Georgia this weekend. Let's see how good the number one ranked Bulldogs look against the 14th ranked Clemson Tigers. Texas A&M's got a big challenge as they'll be hosting Notre Dame. So we'll get a little bit of a feel for some of the other teams in the Southeastern Conference as well. But try to keep it fun, try to get some interesting guests, always fun show. I do also, obviously, a lot of work with my main jobs with Louisiana Radio Network. And then do a lot of appearances with one of our big affiliates, WWL. In fact, me and Mike Detillier will be breaking down the game Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4:30 over at Acme Oyster House. So you can catch us on the big WWL on Sunday at 2:30 or 2 o'clock, 2 to 4:30 on Sundays. We get you ready for LSU USC.
Yeah, LSU USC. About a month or so ago, LSU was a 6.5-point favorite. This week it's been 4.5, depending on where you shop. Over and unders up there. It appears that the wise guys think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. Everybody's been waiting. We had spring practice for LSU. Then we had the summertime. Then we had the fall camp. Brian Kelly on his radio show last night said something like last year that the number of injuries last year during fall camp. Injury could be, quick, stubbed your toe or something. It's way down from last year. They think that's because of the new recovery center, the medical and training staffs and all of that. That's a good news, because injuries are part of sports. We know that. And you don't want anybody to get hurt in any sport at any level. But if LSU is healthy, that's a good thing because, teams that suffer injuries, I always have said, Jeff, there's a reason guys are starters and guys are backups because the starters are better at what they do at that time than the backup. And if you get injuries, sometimes you got to turn to them backups. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But overall, LSU very, very healthy going into the season opener.
Well, I'm wondering if one of the reasons why they're healthy, Tommy, is they didn't tackle that much during training camp. I mean, during the practices that were open to the media, I mean, there were a lot of 7-on-7s, a lot of 11-on-11s, a lot of individual drills. Didn't see a ton of tackling. And in fact, Coach Brian Kelly was asked when he was meeting with reporters on Thursday about one of your biggest concerns going into the season opener, and it's tackling, because it's just hard. I mean, these guys are, as he mentions, one of your main goals is trying to make sure everybody is healthy for that season opener. So how much did they work on tackling? He thinks they hit the right amount, because they're going into this game with really only one significant injury issue, and that is to Chris Hilton, a wide receiver who's dealing with a bone bruise. But how much have they worked on it? It's kind of hard to say. So hopefully they're ready. Hopefully they're ready. And but I kind of remember last year at the beginning of camp. I mean, there was like 4 or 5 guys that are already sitting on the sidelines doing this and that, and they certainly didn't have that issue. I do think it's a good sign that you don't have a lot of these soft tissue issues, the hamstring industries, or the injuries, all that kind of stuff. At least they've stayed away from that. So I think that is a good sign for the strength and conditioning program, the recovery center, which is crazy, off the charts, unbelievable how nice that thing is.
No question about it. Jeff, let's talk LSU offensively. We know Garrett Nussmeier is the quarterback. There's some receivers with a huge upside, bunch of tight ends. They're talking about they're going to use the tight ends more. A lot of 2 tight end sets in formations and practice and scrimmages this year. Let's talk about the LSU offense. The offensive line is one of the best in the country, led by Will Campbell, Emory Jones. The LSU offense, certainly not a question mark going in, other than the unknown with Garrett Nussmeier. We know what he did in the bowl game, but still it's different. Bowl games are different. It's a different mindset unless you're playing for the national championship in the playoffs. So let's talk LSU offense. I expect them to do very well, mainly because of the offensive line. There's 3 guys on an offensive line going to play a while in the NFL, and another guy that's probably going to get in a camp and have a chance to make a roster. The offensive line is where it starts for the offense, and I think they're going to be able to score points, especially in this offensive-minded game.
Yeah, I feel really good about the offense, but there are some assumptions that we're making that we just think are going to come true. Like Mike Denbrock was an outstanding play caller. I mean, Mike Denbrock, granted you had 3 first-round draft picks on that offense last season, and so it made his job a lot easier. But there's been very little discussion about, Mike Denbrock going back to Notre Dame, and now Joe Sloan's the play caller. There's just this belief that everything's going to be fine there, that Joe Sloan's going to handle the play calling duties just absolutely fine. So, I mean, that's maybe a good assumption to make, but it's not a guarantee. Not a guarantee. DJ Chester, I think most people assume, hey, he's going to handle the center position very well. He's a bigger guy than Charles Turner was a season ago. Did very well in the game against Missouri when he was pressed into action. But again, that's not a guarantee. And I think the other thing is we're all assuming Caleb Jackson is going to take that next step in development. And John Emery is going to be this guy that could give you 5 to 10 plays and maybe give you 2 or 3 that are really, really good. And you're anticipating these wide receivers are all of a sudden going to step up. I mean, we're already dealing with an injury with Chris Hilton. That has been one of the things that has kind of held him back. Plus, the guys in front of him have been really good. But one of the things that he's been dealing with during his career at LSU is injuries. Can the guy stay healthy? So there's this confidence with the LSU offense, and a lot of it is because of these assumptions that we're making that we think it's going to be fine. And there's probably a good chance that they will be. Joe Sloan will probably do a good job as the play caller. DJ Chester will do a good job as the center, and these receivers will step up, and Caleb Jackson can really be a thumper as a running back. But none of that is guaranteed, and that's why obviously you play the games, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But I do think in the end that LSU offensively will be good this season and be a team that can score around 30 points a game on most Saturdays.
Well, and I think they're going to try to run the ball maybe a little more than last year when Jay Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner, was playing quarterback. And having that great line will help them run the ball, and then that'll help the passing game, as we know. Now, Jeff Palermo, we switched to the defense. That's the question mark. 13th in the league last year, not going to cut it. Blew that game against Ole Miss when you had a 9-point lead late in the fourth quarter and let it get away. The defense, the transfer portal, and maybe there was a little hope that there'd been some more impact from the portal on the defensive line and in the secondary. That's the question mark. And it's almost like, okay, we think LSU can score 30 or more points, between 30 and 40 out the gate just about every game. Maybe score more than that against Nichols next week. But can the defense get off the field a few times? Almost like the old arena football. Whoever gets the most stops is going to win. Well, can the defense be that? We know what Blake Baker did at Missouri. I think there's more talent on the roster at LSU than there is at Missouri, although don't sleep on Missouri. They're going to make a lot of noise in the SEC this year, and they had a big blowout win last night. The defense is the question. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, obviously it's the question. And I'm really curious to see how some of these veterans, guys that have been on this defense for a while, how they perform. I'm talking about a guy like Major Burns in his new position that he'll be playing closer to the line of scrimmage, a guy that I think a lot of us are expecting will be used as someone that will be blitzing the quarterback. I mean, how well is he going to perform this season in the new role that he is in the star position, as they call it, in the Blake Baker defense? Savion Jones, I really thought last year he was going to have a good season, and then he was very non-productive as most of the defense was. All right, let's see what you can do now. Second year as a starter. Let's see you take that step and be a force on that defensive line. Sage Ryan, I know he starts out at cornerback this season. Maybe eventually goes back to safety as the year goes on. We'll have to wait and see. But what are we going to see out of a former 5-star safety out of high school? I mean, I think those are the guys that I'm kind of interested to see. I mean, if those three guys really end up playing very well for LSU this year on defense, I think this could be an adequate defense that the Tigers put on the field. But if they're still, just kind of guys that are out there, and sometimes they're making plays or they're making a couple plays here or there, they're going to need more, I think, out of those guys. And Brian Kelly has been talking up Jacoby and Guillory, and so have a lot of the other players on LSU's defense. Is this guy that good where he could be a mid-round draft pick next year, a third, fourth round pick? Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're looking out of him, to have that kind of production. So, and you really got to rely on him, man. He's got to stay healthy, because I'm not exactly sure what LSU has at defensive tackle beyond him. I mean, that's how thin it is. They got guys, but I don't know if any of them are really proven. So they're going to be the struggles, and let's see if they can stay away from the busted coverages like they had a season ago. Brian Kelly thinks they've cleaned that up. So, again, we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But you almost wish they were playing like a team like Mississippi State or Vanderbilt in the season opener, because Lincoln Riley is going to test them. Even though maybe this is not the most talented offense that Lincoln Riley has ever had to work with, he is still one of the best play callers in all of college football.
Well, the key will be, can the defense affect the quarterback Morris, who threw 6 touchdowns in the bowl game against Louisville? Can they affect him and they alter his game? And I think because of the suspect offensive line at Southern Cal, I'm going to hang my hat on Blake Baker. I know what he did at Missouri. And, he played linebacker at Tulane 20 years ago. We have a mutual friend. A friend of mine is very good friends with Blake Baker. So I've had a little inside info at a time or two. He was a teammate of Baker's at Tulane. But anyway, that's going to be a question. Special teams, always important. You got to get the field goal sometimes. And you can't allow a big play on special teams. Not a lot of talk about special teams, but it can't be. It's very important.
Well, especially considering Jay Bramlett, the punter the LSU Tigers had the last 2 seasons, was a solid punter, and now you have this. I think what you're going to have is when they're backed up in their own end, Peyton Todd is going to be the punter, and he's going to try to boom them. And then they're going to rely on, when they're trying to maybe pin the opponent, or they're trying to prevent a return of some sort, they'll go with Oschendorf, who's more of kind of one of these rugby type punters who can just kind of boot it down there, let it bounce a little bit. Place it a little bit. So it's a question mark at this point. And the first 2 years of the Brian Kelly regime, other than Ramos, who's been fairly steady for them as a place kicker, we all know the troubles they've had on special teams. So, and they still don't have a special teams coordinator. So it's not like there is one guy that is out there trying to fix it. And so it's not been very good the last 2 seasons. And you're just, again, I think you're kind of crossing your fingers that there's improvement. It was better last year than it was in the first year of BK's tenure. So can it be better than it was a year ago? And we'll have to wait and see. But punting is certainly a concern. And, we all know they got the athletes that can play on special teams. It's just making sure they're lined up right, they're coached right, and hopefully they don't have any breakdowns, especially in the punting game.
Well, I expect the Tigers to win on Sunday night. I think they'll cover that spread for those of you who like to place a little wager. Man, I've been saying it all over the place. I think LSU wins 41-31. That's what I'm throwing out there, 41-31. You're going to have a lot of points, although the timing is the clock runs differently. All the games we've played so far, there's been less snaps, less possessions. And keep in mind, there's a 2-minute warning at the end of the half and at the end of the game. But I got LSU 41-31, getting the win over the Trojans. You got any thoughts on what might happen Sunday night?
I don't think it's going to be that high scoring just because it's week 1. I'd be surprised if it's that high scoring. I think there's still going to be you're trying to kind of find your footing a little bit. I mean, you look at past history with LSU quarterbacks, right? Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow. I mean, both of their first years as starting quarterbacks, they were good. They were good. I don't know, borderline great in a way. But it was the second year that really took off. And so I don't expect, even though I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to wind up really good for LSU, I don't know if it's good, how pretty it's going to look early on. He's got to buy that one thing that he doesn't have at this point, and that's experience. And I think he's going to be experiencing some things here in this game that he has not seen yet. And I think it could cause problems for a guy like him. But I still think LSU wins this game. I think they're the better team overall. But I could see LSU scoring somewhere around 33, 34 points and USC somewhere around, the 25, 28, 24 to 28 points. That's kind of where I see this game.
Here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, get everything you need for the weekend. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, everything that you possibly need to drink, eat. They can cook it for you. You can cook it yourself. Jeff Palermo, Dylan Cruz got called up to the big leagues this week. And first night 0-3 with a walk, and then he's been on fire since. First hit was a double. He has hit a home run. We all thought Dylan Cruz would get to the big leagues quickly and do very well. Well, it's here, and he's doing it. The Nationals are not going to be a playoff team, but it's going to be fun to watch Cruz. Now, next week, the Nationals and the Pirates play each other, but if the pitching schedule goes as we all think it will, Skeens won't pitch against the Nationals, and you wouldn't have a Skeens-Cruz matchup as of right now. Skeens would throw Tuesday, and they play like a Thursday through Sunday series. So it doesn't look like they'll match up. But it's been a fun story to watch Paul Skeens and now Dylan Cruz, in the big leagues.
And Trey Morgan's moving up in the minor league system for the Tampa Bay Rays. So, not a surprise. I think it's awesome that both of these guys are already in the major leagues. I mean, watching them during the 2023 National Championship season, you just saw two guys that you saw the Major League Baseball potential with them. And these organizations now are not just holding these kids back, and there's actually incentives for them to get out there and try to get them out on the major league level as fast as you possibly can, based on the new collective bargaining agreement. So you can get additional draft picks. And for instance, if Paul Skeens is named NL Rookie of the Year, I think the Pirates are going to end up with another draft pick because they brought him up. I mean, they could have kept him down in AAA and waited to bring him up to until they're really good and then start a service time then. But they recognized AAA was not a challenge for him. And for the most part, Major League Baseball hasn't been too much of a challenge for him. But I kind of wonder if Skeens is going to finish the season. He went only 5 innings the other day against the Chicago Cubs. He gave up 3 runs. We're starting to see a few chinks in the armor. He's given up a few runs here or there. So you kind of wonder how much longer he's really going to if he's going to be able to finish out the season. And then Dylan Cruz has just been he's just awesome. He's just an awesome player, and looking forward to seeing what he can do with the Nats.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. They say they're not going to shut Skeens down, but they're going to make sure he gets enough rest and all of that stuff going forward. And, if the game's out of control one way or the other, they're not going to push the pitch count thing too much. Jeff, one more thing. The New Orleans Saints open up week from Sunday at home in the Dome, the renovated Dome. Play the Carolina Panthers. They're a 4.5 point favorite already in that game. Not a lot of NFL talk right now because of the college football explosion that started last night. It'll go through Monday night. There's actually a Monday night game, Florida State and Boston College. So, but the Saints, I think it's going to be a long year for the Saints.
Yeah.
Just some general thoughts.
Yeah, I do too. I don't have much confidence in them at all. I listen to Sports Shorts Radio, and when Joel Davis comes on and starts belly aching about him, I agree with him 100%. I mean, Derek Carr is an average quarterback at best. Your receivers are below average. I really feel, the offensive line, there's all kinds of question marks with that unit. Defensively, they got some good players, but they're long in the tooth. Marshawn Lattimore has had a history of getting injured every season now, or at least the last 2 seasons. So I'm not seeing it. What is it? The over-under is 8 wins for them. And I think a lot of that is just because of the division that they play in. And but, yeah, I'm not you almost wish in a way, I think for a Saints fan, in a way that, like you say, if they were like in the, I don't know, if they were in the AFC West or something, and they had a battle Kansas City, San Diego, or even in the NFC West or something where there were some superior teams in those divisions, that they wouldn't just say, okay, it's time to blow it up and start from the scratch and try to build this thing up. But because the division is so weak, I think it gives the ownership and general manager Mickey Loomis this belief, hey, if we can just be okay, we can win this division. And that, to me, is kind of how they've played it the last 2 seasons. And as a fan, I kind of hate when my team is just stuck in the middle. There's no long-term plan, and the short-term plan is just kind of, let's just throw Derek Carr out there and hope for the best. And it doesn't really excite me too much.
Jeff, before you get out of here, tell folks again about the show you and Mike Detillier will do Sunday and your Tuesday night radio show. Give everybody the rundown.
Yeah, Sunday 2 to 4:30 on WWL, me and Mike Detillier, and then 6 to 8 on Tiger Rag Radio, Talk 107.3 here in Baton Rouge. So looking forward to another football season, Tommy.
All right, we appreciate you pinch hitting for Ronnie Rance today, Jeff. We'll visit again soon. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot.
All right, don't forget about Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Everything you need for the weekend, food, drink, they can cook it for you. You can cook it yourself. Stop by Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. You can do all of that here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Give them a call. Stop by, like I said. Plenty you can get that you need here. If you've not been in the Tremonti's, you need to step in here and see all the things that they have. Now, don't forget, tomorrow morning, Sports Shorts Radio will be live from Mandalay Bay. Those of you in Vegas, go to Mandalay Bay, find Radio Row. Ronnie Rance, Hunter McCann. He's going to have a ton of special guests, some former LSU players, a ton of people in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is basically purple and gold all weekend. No question about that. So I'll join them on the phone. I'll be here in Baton Rouge, live from Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, presented by LeBare's Sportsbook, ESPN Bet. 10 a.m. to 12 noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sports Shorts Radio tomorrow from Las Vegas. You don't want to miss that. As we always ask you to do, like and share this show. We appreciate you liking and sharing this show. That helps everybody involved. Sports Shorts Daily will be back on Tuesday, Monday to Labor Day holiday, and there's a lot of plans going on. So we will do Sports Shorts Daily from Court Street Cafe in Port Allen on Tuesday morning and recap the whole weekend and obviously recap LSU and Southern Cal. Once again, I want to thank Jeff Palermo for pinch hitting for Ronnie Rance. Appreciate everybody out there. Nice comments today. Like and share this show. We appreciate it. On behalf of Mike and everybody here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, I'm Tommy Christ saying have a great Labor Day weekend.